everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the 2025 MFA graduation reading. We'll also be having a reception upstairs in the English lounge, so please join us for that after the reading. I'm Bridget, I'm a first-year poet, and I'll be introducing a couple of our readers tonight, along with my fellow first years, Ella Shively, Gerardo Aspiri Iglesias, and Miklos Maciszewski. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that Cornell University is located on the traditional homelands of the Gayokono, or the Cayuga Nation. The Gayokono are members of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, an alliance of 6 sovereign nations with a historic and contemporary presence on this land. The Confederacy precedes the establishment of Cornell University, New York State, and the United States of America. We acknowledge the painful history of Gayokono dispossession and honor the ongoing connection of Gayokono people, past and present, to these lands and waters. I'm very excited to be celebrating these 6 incredible writers with you all. They've been working diligently on their brilliant manuscripts for the past 2 years, and I feel so lucky to get to hear from them this afternoon. On top of being such talented writers, they've been great friends, given us a warm welcome into the program as mentors, and they're deeply generous and attentive readers. I'm so grateful to all of you for making our first year so special. And now I'll invite Ella up to introduce our first reader.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Ella Shively, and I have the joy of introducing Em Setzer as our first reader. Em is a poet and translator from Maryland. They hold a BA in creative writing and classics from Bard College. Their translations have appeared in Asymptote, as well as Lesbiantiquity, and their poetry can be found in a variety of places, such as Bullshit Lit and forthcoming from Strange Horizons. Their first micro-collection, Errato, published by Rinky Dink Press, is out now. In every one of Em's poems, we, the audience, arrive in a place that feels both surprising and inevitable. Regardless of their subject matter, be it an ancient myth or a hockey game, Em's poets float off the page and take root in my mind. Em's precision of language and sense of rhythm make their poems a delight to hear read aloud. Each poem is polished to a jewel shine, and I am so excited for the necklace of poems we are about to receive this afternoon. Please welcome Em Setzer.
Sweet, thank you, Ella. I hope I live up to that introduction. I'm Em. I'm very excited to kick off this little shindig. And today I'm starting with the first poem from my thesis. So this is So Says the Pommel Horse. And you guys might remember the pommel horse from the last Olympics. It was a very big deal. So says the pommel horse. Look, I'm a mess. At my neck, chains in a charm of the Virgin Mary tangle like fishnets. Straddle me. Release your hands now into the custody of my throat. Unmake the mess, says the pommel horse. Set me straight again. Then you can fling those white limbs akimbo, trace a web around my body until it's obscured. Once, in September, I watched you tend to the roots of my orchid. Over the sink, your fingers undressed the knots, unpicked them of their acidic soil, scissoring middle and index until the strands hung freely silver in the air. But then you rewound them. But then their vague helixes returned under your direction, remade with pine bark and moss in the pot. And then the performance was finished in reverse. Yes, I am a pommel horse, but I am that orchid too. I was made for repeat ritual, an apparatus that begs to be used over and over and over until I am left to be palimpsested. Make me anew, says the pommel horse. Make meaning once there truly is none. Oh, thanks. This next poem is called Fish Queen. Siren descends. her tongue seeking the coxcomb of my lap. The folds of every crest she flats with a wink, hands keeping down my hard animal body. And scalloping my hip are her moony pink fingernails, like limpets, tentacles fringing each crescent. I cry, but what comes out is the sound of a hummingbird's wings, insect-like trill rubbing against her long pinions. The air is acquiescent. That body of hers above me, a bestiary. Her clear voice says, "Come hither, stay the white ship of your need. I know the skin and lining of your life, but do you?" Okay, so if you were at the Buffalo Street Books reading, I guess over a year ago, you might remember my Cillian Murphy poem. So this is in the same vein, but clearly about a different celebrity. The poet, looking at a picture of Sabrina Carpenter, is down bad like a dog. Sabrina is holding the microphone like a bedazzled phallus, and coppery spit floods my mouth. She is blonde and glossy like a retriever in boots with a 6-inch heel, straddling air as she cradles the mic low beneath her belly like a perverted Venus pudica. This is simulated sex the way silk carnations simulate pink, not lewd so much as a show pony doing a show. And yet the poet is hungry, and yet I want the idol. This is Waiting for Adam, after Jean Valentine. Remember how we licked cream from the weed, my shoe, and everything else it fell upon? September's fever took from our lips to make room for spit and initiation, and I ate from your palm. 2 names shared amongst reed sounds, 2 fools grinning in the light, we cooed 2 feminine doves. And remember how your meadowlarks powdered into yellow. But first, they had covered us in a blanket of those bell-like plucks and chatter. Or am I wrong? No, your body and its grassland welcomed me. I, like a lark, could find something to love even in a stubble field. But have we been here before? Of course, yes, we birthed this memory separately, before your breast shepherded in the heat, before you bent at the waist to praise a spider or to dry my mouth. Yes, I've been waiting in the garden for years, with the spotted lilies and hyssop, all these nameless things waiting for Adam. This next poem is called Weird Girl Wasted. Once drunk, I'm done being human. I'll be a horse, or I don't know, a mythic beast with scales. It depends on the drink and if I'm ovulating. Tonight, lights are becoming pixies, and pixies are becoming girls, or is it the other way around? I swear this girl did not have wings before my rose cordial, but she does now. Now she's glittering or glowing or doing whatever you'd say a jewel beetle does when it finds the midday sun. But really, she's just like Edward from Twilight, which is to say she's blinding as fuck in my face, and I don't really care as she's fingering the ribbon holding together my shirt, really my decency. And I'm totally loving it, so blinded, I count the wet rings her drink left on the wood, and I know it's time to leave when a girl looks at me with eyes like lidded coffins. And there's 7 rings, and I see another place, fairies, grottos, unicorns, etc. And the girl has got fingers like an invasive rose. Her fingers have found their way to my waistband, so I say, this party is dead, let's go. Okay, second to last poem. This is called Make Me Winifred. Are you going to take it off? My head, you know, it's winsome curls. You might as well play the man scorned. Make me a saint the way woodsmen make a coppice. Raise the young tree. It's for my own good. God just might give you the axe himself. It's okay, I promise. I'll just find some foothills to haunt, some moors to roam in. I could handle being headless for a bit. I might discover the ecstasy of a poppy. Dead-headed, but never lonely. Skull cradled like a flightless bird always. No day spent without fingers in my hair or a body by my side. Can I tell you a secret? In the true hierarchy of what really gets me going, your body and your fingers are high. I know God should be higher, but I've never seen God in a pleated little skirt. Until then, I'll lay my head in your lap, look up at you like a dog, sweetly and stupidly, in love with the idea of bleeding out in your arms. Okay. It's been faster than I thought it would. And to wrap it up, I have the first poem I wrote when I moved to Ithaca. That was a little full circle. So this is, they have been kissing since 1974, but I have been alone forever. A lamp goes on in my chest. Sahila, Spock says, his brow heavying, speak to me. Swifts chase each other overhead, frolicking like maenads or like marbles. Kirk, who is gilded with pain, turns his head, bares his cheek. Lighting my stove with a match, a spider foots the flame, and like a flower, its body burns and curls and blackens. Two men stand like bronze soldiers. Spock feels grief kick with 4 limbs against a veil. On the phone, my bank asks if I want to be secure. A heartbreaking wind touches my hair. There is movement or the pretense of violence. A black feather waits for me on the stoop. Jim, to be silent forever would be illogical. Please, Spock implores. He is not ashamed to be on his knees. Images of supplication have always seemed beautiful. He could be a horse or a cow, some sorrowful creature in waiting. I kill a mosquito and wait for the bus. Rain begins, nobody calls me. I lost my place. 2 men collide like sea lions, breast against breast. Kirk struggles, he is a flame fighting breath. Someone far away gets married, and I am an inverted spyglass. Tiny people ferment celebration, disgusting me. Spock is a cage for frenzy. Spock gets his hands around Jim's neck and holds red beneath green, and he thinks about panoplies of color, such as rainbows. In bed, I think about taking off my glasses to kiss you. My lamp flickers at this hour. They are not fighting. They are kissing. They have always been kissing. They make an obscene sound like the breaking of glass. I am silent, and the night is silent back. Uniforms are shredded as if preparing tourniquets. Blunt teeth are used to bully the skin. My alarm clock radio crumples beneath static. Hands multiply in lust, clasping like bracelet ends. A Vulcan and a human walk into a loving room that will never be set on fire, and I sleep alone while men ride the train in my head. That's all I got.
Thank you, Em. That was beautiful. Next, I'm so excited to introduce Amir McClam. Amir is a poet, educator, and ceramicist from Buffalo, New York. They earned a BS in psychology from Howard University in 2022, where they also served as assistant editor for the Amistad. As a Merita Golden Literary Fellow, they helped develop educational programming around poetry and justice for the Folger Shakespearean Library, and they have been awarded additional fellowships and scholarships from the Schomburg Center and 24 Pearl Street. Amir is currently an MFA student in poetry here at Cornell, where they teach the English seminar Race, Writing, and Power. Their work explores Black, queer, and trans feminisms, embodiment, and the relational healing that sows the seeds for social transformation. Amir's poems can be found in Nimrod International Journal and the Amistad. Amir has this amazing ability to bundle so much feeling into just a few words. These are poems that breathe, each image a green island in the empty space of the page. While I could go on and on about their technical prowess as a poet, what stands out to me most in their poetry is their heart. Last fall, Amir gave us a poem about a heron and a creek that I still think about when I feel in need of healing. Water speaks in Amir's poems, and the water is full of wisdom. Please welcome Amir McClam.
Thank you so much, Ella. That was really sweet and thoughtful. Thank you. And thank everyone for being here, especially my family. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to start by reading a section from Bell Hooks, from a Bell Hooks essay about coming to language that has kind of rooted me a lot in my writing journey over the past couple years. So this is from the essay Talking Back by Bell Hooks. Our speech, the right speech of womanhood, was often the soliloquy, the talking into thin air, like the talking to ears that do not hear you, the talk that is simply not listened to, unlike the black male preacher whose speech was to be heard, who was to be listened to, whose words to be remembered. The voices of black women giving orders, making threats, fussing, could be tuned out, could become a kind of background music, audible but not acknowledged as significant speech. Dialogue, the sharing of speech and recognition, took place not between mother and child or mother and male authority figure, but among black women. I can remember watching fascinated as our mother talked with her mother, sisters, and women friends, the intimacy and intensity of their speech, the satisfaction they received from talking to one another, the pleasure, the joy. It was in this world of woman speech, loud talk, angry words, women with tongues quick and sharp, tender, sweet tongues, touching our world with their words, that I made speech my birthright, and the right to voice, to authorship, a privilege I would not be denied. It was in that world, and because of it, that I came to dream of writing, to write. Writing was a way to capture speech, to hold on to it, keep it close. And so I wrote down bits and pieces of conversation, confessing in cheap diaries that soon fell apart from too much handling, expressing the intensity of my sorrow, the anguish of speech. For I was always saying the wrong thing, asking the wrong questions. I could not confine my speech to the necessary corners and concerns of life. I hid these writings under my bed in pillow stuffings among faded underwear. When my sisters found and read them, they ridiculed and mocked me, poking fun. I felt violated, ashamed, as if the secret parts of myself had been exposed, brought into the open, and hung like newly clean laundry out in the air for everyone to see. The fear of exposure, the fear that one's deepest emotions and innermost thoughts will be dismissed as mere nonsense, felt by so many young girls keeping diaries, holding and hiding speech, seems to me now one of the barriers that women have always needed and still need to destroy, so that we are no longer pushed into secrecy or silence. This first poem is called I Feel Most Disabled When Thrown Against a Clock-White Background. And this is after Zora Neale Hurston, a quote where she says that I feel most colored when thrown against a sharp white background. I feel most disabled when thrown against a clock-white background. When my need for care moves from 6 weeks to eternity, who can keep up? Unknotting my hamstrings, beloved soothes, you refuse to be rushed, says it's something he admires. If only he knew, when given a choice, need or fear, sometimes I'm wrong. My joints singe in red ink incontestable, and I have to listen. The hill grew fire in my legs, sloughing snow in triumph to reach Metro's summit and find escalators broken. Stairs splinter my knees like aggregate crystals. Breaking light, bus driver holds my eyes and waits. I need not run, but lest his grace price rises, I wheel this body cart forward. Inside, my eyes shift, scavenging time. A lot of my thesis is exploring patriarchy, how patriarchy has manifested in the way that I understand masculinity and femininity. and sort of like wrestling with that and contesting that. So this poem is written in a voice of a patriarch, and it's called Pork Belly. Free game, son. You need money to keep love from two women at once. Dissolves questions like camphor balm clears baby's chest in sleep. One wife's birthday fell on Sunday, promised church, the other bacon. Got one hog killed and cut in half. She saved lard for my boots, knew how to get 'em smooth as her shoulders. Your mother shone like Mary in that pew with you. I kissed her with the mouth of smoke and syrup, fold into her hand a check. You can bet on me. I'd come home, find you waiting by the curtains, chewing on some bone. Only way I can stomach lying, I say it like I'm talking to myself. Some scales. Grief hooks me into its bottom lip and rings against its washboard gums, spit sponging me for nicotine and cherry. It has a steel cup at its desk to slap me in when spent. It polishes the outside twice a week, murmuring prayers into metal. When wanting a little peace, it breaks me up and puts a flame to my head. It's raining and I've been flooded out the ground to my displeasure. Walking, grief sees me scattered in 13 umber pieces on asphalt, almost stepping on me first, but kneels, muddying its shorts, pinches each of me like a mystery towel and places all parts in the dirt across the street. Grief's arms can double wrap the hill. Grief breathes into my reed body with a thumb at my foot and pinky at my left eye. Grief's hands are wider than a hawk from wingtip to wingtip. Grief plays a single feather note like a teenager towing the gas, forces more notes, cubits of air through my hollow body, all 10 fingers skittering, busy ants along my rib keys. Grief scribbles, takes its mouth off me and hums, takes a second. Grief rolls my name around its tongue, teething. This is a poem after a Lucille Clifton poem called Sam, and it's a golden shovel, so the last word in each line is chronologically makes up a line from Lucille Clifton's poem. So the line that's in Lucille Clifton's poem is, "Stars and stripes forever, what did you do to my father?" And I'm kind of working with that theme, but in a different way. Querying fatherhood with a golden shovel. Grief picks at the solitary black, stars eating sky. I churn my feet into oblivion and fantasize mauling this place, rending out stripes with my teeth. As a child, I needed his hands forever sunlit, knocking sticks into music, breaking eggs, what rhythm sold through his shuttered head. But I did learn contradictions singe beneath skin. You know manhood only by his choice to do wrong, now a second-hand ghost set to outrun what peers at him from water. My, what did God say of forgiveness, grandfather? And the last poem of mine that I'll read before reading an Audre Lorde poem is a ghazal, and it's one of the first poems that I wrote and finished and felt good about, and actually it's one of the poems that I applied to this program with, or an earlier form of it. So, ghazal by the riverside. I practice keeping time at my register, foot chasing the pulse of a beat rest. House bass buzzes through the shop. I try to get close to the lion rest. I hold a lineage of grief, boats ripping the dirt, blood dripping the boats, the streets swarmed with smoke. I cannot think the violent rest. Whenever I sit still, I start crying. Skull rock against the pillow, I reach for sleep and salted jewels pool in the bowl of my ear, struck from the volume of quiet rest. My voice ricochets off the glass. Millions dead in poisoned air, but the lecture keeps droning. I'm supposed to learn. Close my camera, mute the mic, pirate rest. Rippin' and runnin', my grandma say. Could burn a hole through my belly engine all the time I spend in flight. It asks for me as much as I deny it, rest. I meet my gaze in the mirror and choose, I ain't gonna study war no more. Drop the shield and let the light stretch. Flood yellow and violet rest. Air of this body, your birth itself a miracle. Each saline spiral frees a kindred's dance. Take your dead with you and riot. Rest. Thank you. I'm gonna end with a poem by Audre Lorde. This book my Nana gave to me when I was like 15, and she wasn't able to come down today, my Nana, but I'll be sending her the video. And this poem and this book in particular just has a special place in my heart, so I wanted to read it as a full circle moment. When the Saints Come Marching In, by Audre Lorde. Plentiful sacrifice and believers in redemption are all that is needed. So any day now, I expect some new religion to rise up like tear gas from the streets of New York, erupting like the rank pavement smell released by the garbage truck's baptismal drizzle. The high priests have been ready and waiting with their incense pans full of fire. I do not know the rituals, the exaltations, nor what name of the god the survivals will worship. I only know she will be terrible and very busy and very old. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mikołaj Maciszewski. I'm a first-year student in the MFA program, and I'm here to introduce the inimitable Matthew Bettencourt. Matthew Bettencourt's fiction speaks to the soul's struggle for vitality amidst unstoppable decay and unchecked growth. Atmospheric hymns that tell of individuals struggling to find their place in the world. His stories are defined by vivid settings and a pervasive sense of longing which, because it knows not from where it comes, seems almost hopeless in its quest for fulfillment. But it persists. His characters' lucid perception of the blighted urban, exurban, and suburban America that surrounds them evokes an ennui that is in each case specific to the character, yet somehow universal to the inhabitants of our national epoch. The turner of these magic tricks is also, unsurprisingly, a dedicated colleague who offers insightful critiques of his peers' work and whose energy injects life into the fiction of his classmates. He can be relied on to spark discussion or add the texture you did not know you needed in order to understand your own work. Matthew Bettencourt earned an undergraduate degree from the UW-Madison Creative Writing Department and formerly served as editor-in-chief at the Madison Review. He is about to graduate from the MFA program at Cornell University. He will be sorely missed in our workshop next year. Please welcome Matthew Bettencourt.
Well, that was very nice. Thank you, Miklos. Another round of applause for Miklos, please. Thank you so much. I should have him announce me whenever I walk in a room or something. That was great. I'm going to read you a story. I'm your fictional interlude between the poems of tonight. This is a story about a cross-country race. And I wanted to try something maybe a little strange if you guys are down. Can you guys... Okay. Well trained. Okay. Now you know what to do. And you'll know when. This is the story about a cross-country race. I don't like the title, so if you have a new idea for one, please tell me at the reception. Charlie joined his team minutes before the 5K started, the other runners already stretching themselves lean and springy, the swish of their windbreakers coming off. Afternoon sunlight latticed through the trees, netting the mulch in ripples of gold. Other teams huddled up under canopies spangled with their high school's regalia, the rhythm of their last-minute rallying cries mixing with the whooping parents and classmates who flanked the starting line. Cowbells and school spirit mingled in the dry autumn air. A breeze curled through the runners, a chill that prowled, threatened to pounce. One of the runners turned from the team circle and saw Charlie coming across the parking lot, still in his sweats and sneakers. He jogged over that runner everyone called Bug because he wore glasses that ballooned his eyes, and he had a duffel bag and a race bib with him. "Didn't think you'd make it," he said, unzipping. Inside the bag was a pair of running spikes, rock candy green, barbs glinting like cavity fillings. They were a size too small on Charlie's feet, buckled his toes together, but they were light and sharp, and he could feel the earth beneath his toes. He didn't tell Bug that he shouldn't have made it, that back at St. John's there was a math tutor waiting for him to return from the bathroom. He'd slipped through the library doors, lengthened his stride, and found a sprinter's pace to the bus stop. The linoleum hallways and salt-scaled sidewalks didn't have nearly as much give as the cross-country path. The strongest racers, legs braiding out from beneath their color-coordinated shorts, lined up first. They yipped and lunged and jumped, slapped their thighs and rolled their necks. More lined up as the timer ticked down. The nervous ones, the ones who had already decided when they would start walking, the ones who thought they belonged among the fastest, but who would bleed off and form their own straggling pack before the second mile. Charlie stayed at the curb, touching his fingers to his toes, his heels to the back of his thighs. He felt the muscles becoming looser with each stretch. He pushed through the burn that told him something was about to snap until he felt that thing he loved most about running, the cool bliss that coiled just past the limits of his body. He had tried other sports, angrier sports, football, for a semester. But he was always better at getting hit than he was at winning, would lock cages with linesmen while the place swirled and eddied like a tidal pool around them. It was Bug who told him to try cross country. No tryouts. Practice every evening, laps at the track one school district over, only after the other school's team finished using it. It meant he had to quit football, but the coach didn't seem all too sad to see him go. Bug lined up next to Charlie at the back of the heat, even though Bug was one of the fastest runners, would unfurl from the starting clot and find his stride farther ahead. He let Charlie lean on his shoulders so he could finish stretching, one leg guillotining through the air between them, then the other. "How do they fit?" he asked, watching the spikes make comet trails over the grass. And even though the bones in his feet screamed through the cross-hatched polyester, Charlie said fine, because the ache made him feel sharp, like the killing end of an arrow. The other runners didn't like Bug because he could run a 5K in 16 minutes while they were still treading 19. But when Charlie looked at him, he saw a kind of haze around his edges, the kind of haze you only saw when he hadn't eaten all day. Bug brought him old sneakers and spikes and team merchandise that still had his real name monogrammed over the heart, which made the other runners curl into vicious little circles and laugh, but Charlie didn't care. He couldn't see them laughing if he was running at the front of the pack. A man in khaki shorts and a polo shirt sidled up to the starting line, and a feathery quiet fluttered through the runners. The man held the starting gun, which wasn't really a gun, but a computer with a trigger, a barrel shape, a cable that squirmed over the man's upstretched wrist and down into the grass. Charlie pushed his toes into the ground until he could feel it pushing back, until he could feel the force of the earth through his shins, all the way to his thighs. And then, the gunshot crackled through hidden speakers, and he ran. In those first steps, amidst the jostle of arms and legs pounding past one another, the air hot and wet with the breath of everyone at each other's flank, Charlie sliced to the front. His hands poised like knives, his body a thin edge through the crowd of nylon singlets. He eeled through a sea of navies and burgundies and russet oranges, pushing to where he saw the heads and shoulders give way to tree-prickled sky, to the open path where the fastest were already bounding across the wood chips. Charlie looked for Bug, but he was already gone. And the second he turned his head, a bigger runner trampled in front of him, blocking the way forward. Charlie sidestepped, but he was pressed in on all sides by more runners, heaving and wheezing, bobbing in a rhythmless mass. But Charlie knew his rhythm, could feel it hissing through his blood like lactic acid. He looked for a gap to press through, a pearl of light beneath an armpit maybe. He tested the distance between him and the bigger runner, his hands catching on untucked singlet hems, his stride shortening to a jitter as he tried to keep from bringing the spikes down on someone's heel. And then he saw it. The path ahead, tucked between someone's elbow and hip, appearing and vanishing with each pump of their arms. Charlie veered sharp, brought his shoulder down and ducked his head, imagined himself spectral, billowing, imagined his skin sloughing away to reveal clouds and birds and dew-slick salamanders, and he ran as hard as he could through the gap between the other runner's arms. There was cursing and stumbling, and an elbow came down on Charlie's cheekbone, a crack, something blooming, sharp and angry and red, and he was through, and he broke into a sprint, and it felt like flying. The wind twining over the burst capillaries beneath his eye, nerves prickling from his orbital to his scalp. Not yet, he had to remind himself, easing back until the whistle in his ears was replaced by the thumping of the pack behind him, the pack ahead. The race was only just starting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Matthew. That was so immersive. I'm sweating. I'm so happy to be introducing my friend Aishvarya Arora, a poet, teaching artist, and cultural organizer from Queens, New York. Their collection, Mr. Time, was selected by Dianelli Antigua as the winner of the Gold Line Press Poetry Contest and will be published in 2026. They've received support from the Fulbright Program, Tupelo Press's Merrill Family Fellowship, and the Asian American Writers Workshop, where they were a Poetry Coalition Fellow. Their poetry is featured in or forthcoming from Poetry Northwest, The Offing, The Hopkins Review, The Margins, Fog Lifter, Apogee, and elsewhere. Find them online at coolslug.wordpress.com. I would add that Aishvarya's work is richly musical. It's full of sonic and textural pleasure, and it's also deeply moving in its inquiries into grief, love, intimacy, and desire. Their attention and care for language and for those they love is realized so skillfully in a way that always evokes such warmth and gentleness and ache. Aishvarya is my most supportive enabler, my gossip guy, and my favorite haver of Prithvi's nose. I'm not trying to be a man, but I am trying to be a butch like you. Please give it up for Aishvarya Arora.
Hi, everyone. How are we doing? Woo. Mr. Time cranks the key in the back of girlhood, like a wind-up toy, till it tenses, stumbles at me. Selfish Mr. Time drives by in girlhood, borrowed car, speeding red streak. Meanwhile, I hide at the side of the highway, where peonies, poppies, and straw flowers mumble at me about the difference between sleep and dreams, blooms and openings, tits and breasts. Now, on me, they're a chest, spread flat, taught to do that. Like the bedsheet Kay soothed with the flat of their hand, palmed and smacked, till it shivered like that, till the springs inside creaked. How pedestrians cluck at the sidewalk florist for a more reasonable rate on Woodside Ave. How when I met Kay, I spoke from inside my binder-flattened chest, a dream I achieved where never was ambition attached. Luck and discovery, invention and inheritance. Like my father, after every meal I take dessert. Like my brother, I take clippers at a one from my nape to my temples. Like my grandfather, I divulge only when asked. Ask again. Ask me if I always knew. Patriarch of my backpack, I pack it full of hungers. Spearmint to gnaw. A forged note that says I'm the washed sidewalk's favorite boy, wet from the florist's hose and spray. I remember. I change. I dew across my memories, cooling daylight. I waft across your imagination like grass after the mower's engine cuts. What else could grow and die here? It feels really special to share Mr. Time with all of you because it's the title poem of the chapbook, but none of this work would have been possible without my wonderful classmates. I learned so much from your poems and your way of being in the world. So much gratitude to my teachers who ask us to think even more about what poetry can be in the world. So it feels really special to read this for all of you. Also, shout out to my parents who are seeing me read poetry for the first time. Round of applause for them. Mr. Time, the collection is interested in questions of gender, masculinity. It's a collection that's obsessed with the word butch. Thank you to Bridget for shouting that out. But at its core, I think it's a work that's interested in how grief changes us and how loss shapes us. So I'll read another poem from that. I'm not trying to be a man, how? Men are not trying to be me either. Yet, on moving day, slim silver mirrors ditched on the sidewalk reflect stars that are planes that I wish on. Wish I knew why the silver-haired man at the auto shop is so butch, slipping his gold-ringed fingers under the Subaru, humming like a CD spinning in the disc drawer, his bronze hoop and hair match my lover, my boyfriend, who's not trying to be a man either, yet so handsome are we when wives gather, we cleave to the boys, find the conversation boring. Once I fail at every dream, how free I will be. Fear and desire burrow in me like lyrics I misremember to August's earworm. Singing, I climb 6 flights with the wrong keys jingling in my carabiner. The mismatched key and door, long for nothing, fear nothing. In the collection, there's a series of Stone Butch sonnets that are written to the activist Leslie Feinberg, written to the poet Wanda Coleman, and this specific one is also written to my barber, who I love. I love getting a haircut. And so I'll read this one. This is called Stone Butch Sonnet. Flicked from your clipper's silver fingers, my hair confetti dusts your skin, settles under your corduroy collar, the way that mustard flowers fizz open on fields of late-season mustard plants. I'm born bristling and petaled at your hands. You in that burgundy chore coat in a decade could be me. Your right hand, my Manjul, your left hand, my Prithvi. It's really exciting to share work like this or to publish work. And I think a hope I have for my work is that it invites people into thinking about grief as a collective experience. And so this is a poem that speaks as a we, and I invite you all to, welcome yourself into that we. Model of a mirror. We don't discuss how our dead suffered. We observe roadside vultures scraping bones on the hit badger. We don't discuss luck. Green parrot acquired by the dead with 3 months left of living. Survived by bird seeking absence's meaning over crests of living room carpet. We won't say how our dead died. Anniversaries we huddle shivering in waterfall mist. Herons in pairs, punctuating, quieting rapids, are those our dead returned to living? We don't suffer superstition. Hit on the wrist with bird shit, God sealing, dead laughing. We peel feeling like skin from a wet one piece. Spandex noisy, doves keening, gray puffs who mourn no one. We laugh when noon shadows father darkness on the sidewalk below the sugarberry. We won't call darkness that strikes during daylight grief. In lamplight, we flap wings on the ceiling. In our sleep, scenes of our dead swapped with our living. We won't admit qualities drool from them into us. Their faith in supplements, night errands to the red pharmacy. When living, digging their heels in about healing, about treatment. They ride beside me. Grief is a bird steering. I'll close out with one last poem that's dedicated to my brother, and it's called, I have to find this one. I have so many sticky notes, but none of them are actually what I plan to read, so give me just a second. Yes, I found it. Page 15. Okay. Yeah, thanks for coming. Golden Temple. In the dream where my memories of your life flow like hard water, I turn on a faucet caked with limescale and copper. We step in shallow basins to clean our feet. Minerals dry on our skin. Crowds of pilgrims surge around our stationary trio. You can't walk. Pious men insist on carrying you. Their large hands cup your sit bones and lift, not the way you like. Steel bangle worn at the wrist of the faithful digging into your bones. Your hair covered in an orange rumal knotted at your nape. Mama's hands hold up your neck like a bird carrying twigs to a nest. In the porcelain sink of another year, I dry my hands on a blue dish towel with the phone between my shoulder and ear. You at the other end of the wire. Thank you so much.
That was so beautiful, Aishvarya. Thank you for that. It's my honor now to be introducing Ngoc. Ngoc Pham is a Vietnamese poet. Their poems can be found on poets.org, the Adroit Journal, Couplet Poetry, and in the anthology Dear Human at the Edge of Time. They're currently an MFA student in poetry at Cornell University. Ngoc's poems are incredibly tender and clear-eyed, and they're also dryly funny, like them. For me, their poems reach underneath the world that we see and feel out the strange, possible worlds where snow is equally countable and uncountable, where words remember how they were meant to sound, where speaking is a kind of spell, and most of all, I think their work points us towards a world where love saves. Ngoc is famously an international man of mystery, but I've found that they're an amazing baker, barber, Buddhist monk, and a proficient user of the move Hyperbeam. Give it up for Ngoc.
Hello. Can people hear me? Can people see me? Okay. Thank you, Bridget, for your very generous introduction. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's very nice to meet people's families for the first time. Your kids are great. Okay, I'll just start. Portrait of the poet as magician. And for my next trick, I shall disappear half of myself. No saw necessary. When I emerged from the grave, my mother cried, said I was beautiful when I fit into her wedding dress she wore at my age. I am most beautiful when I remind my mother of how she wetted her teeth on weevilled sorghum, when I wake my tongue on sugar-free gum. Swallow smoke for dinner, exhale burnt lime in a blade. When I hunger for sweet mouthfuls that could kill, but haven't had the chance. Wormwood and tansy, flights of fancy, fantasy of vertebrae lined up and legible as book spines. Or story could go on forever. My ancestors won't touch altar offerings, survived this far on famines. I circle my family tree severed at the waist, excavate our ossified history, years of drought, hollowed grounds. Once, I found the bone on the inside of my wrist. Now, I could pull from my mouth a museum. Thank you. The next poem is called Christmas 2019, and it's dedicated to a friend I used to live with who didn't have Wi-Fi but had a VCR player for some reason. So we watched a lot of VHS and listened to a lot of radio. Christmas 2019. Me in your old ski jacket, you in your skin and a name like a list of saints. Your station wagon's wood panel taking flight. Past Dollar General, knockoff Diet Coke. What the fuck is Shasta? 24/7 Walgreens. Unsalted almonds rattling in your sleeves like rosary beads. Prayers whistled through acid-loosened teeth. Past days in discounts. CSL plasma. You traded blood for bottles. Equivalent exchange until they said no more. Please, there's nothing left of you. So you waterlocked yourself, pocketed hand weights from your triathlete days, and they took you back like your mother did. Past food shelves, magic tricked feast from canned tomatoes, more economical to drink on an empty stomach. Past ICU beds, low threat count blankets, midnights you rubbed my hands like kindling, named every bone, metacarpal, phalanx, lunate, or fingers heat reanimating nightmares. Past basement hallways, Will Carcass Cathedral, your organs hummed white on x-rays, Scooby-Doo on VHS, 24/7 NPR, wait, don't tell me, first impeachment inquiry, past plastic coin shrine, nickel and dime second chances, past, oh God, you're really dead this time, past your bedroom door, Star Trek posters, shame skittering on the floor, newspapers I scanned for your face in the obits. No relation, but you know I would have called. You wouldn't believe what I saw. You turned white like a ghost, would have re-illuminated the dead pixels, reunited your high school band with your old trumpet, past accordion sheets. I would have found just a puddle. Proof of you, entropy. Memory, a shadow puppet. For a while, there was a bat in our building. Some of you may relate. And so I had to get a rabies shot, and it gave me a horrific fever. And I kept having dreams about becoming a vampire. So this poem's about that. Uninvited. After feeding on some rats, I fly to your house, where I addressed a summer of letters signed yours. I hover by the streetlight outside your kitchen, bigger than I imagined, a yellow-lit shadow box of carcass and knives, glass steamed from your simmering stuff. You strip flesh from bone while she pares potato skin ribbons. Butter chicken, I guess. Your marry me recipe. You sit across each other, spoon from the same pot, ask, how was your day? Make weekend plans to see the lakes. Lament rising prices of eggs, of raising a child. Cost of living crisis, an appetite I sacrificed for flight and newly wedded canines. You wipe sauce from her blood-warm bottom lip. I consider knocking, knowing I can't enter uninvited this time. Instead, I perch on a branch, licking my rat-crusted fangs. Watch you clear the tables, load the dishwasher together. Maybe she hums a song. I can't tell, despite my supersonic hearing, if you laugh. I swat the moths clouding my sight. You flick a switch. My shadow shimmers on your darkened window as your silhouette slink towards the bedroom where I can no longer follow. But I know you brush her hair from her eyes. I know you see my face mirrored in her pupils silverless. I know she dips her tongue in the hollow behind her ear and draws only sweat. Bit of family history. My mother's uncle fought in Vietnam's resistance war against America, and he sadly was killed during the war. But before that, he was a poet. So I never got to meet him or talk to him. So this poem is kind of imagining a dialogue between us. Portrait of my family's poet alive, after Widerman. And when you come back from the war, sling your pelts over the 3-step staircase, your camouflage backpack across the tiles. You kneel before your mother, a picture on an altar, incense curled down to the stem. Geckos' chirps shimmer the night, and on wooden slats you lie counting, deciphering their Morse code. Odd for rain, even for sun. As if still waiting for a telegram telling you to live or die in the morning. You raise chickens, slaughter one every New Year's Eve, the barrels of their throats in one hand, finger feeling for a pulse's trigger. Tucked away in your sister's drawer, letters home, paper creases where you pressed your secrets, your promises to quit smoking, to come home. Next May, June, when season sours on dragonmelon branches. Outside, monsoon unravels, and you learn everything you never learned. How rain rattles like shells on our water tanks, which some people call hanging bombs. How your niece was named after your lover. I read your book in the land that took your life. Haven't you heard? We won the war. Outside, children play hide and seek. Search for fragments in craters where your 21 ears unseamed from bullet holes. Yesterday's landmines traded for today's meals. When they trip, silt-soaked soil shrapnels the sky, startle sparrows into flight. We're almost done, I promise. Next one is called At the Hospital. At the Hospital for the Dead and Rapidly Decaying, see also Institute for the Nutritionally Challenged, All You Can Eat. I collaged in the solarium, clipping my medical record, women laughing with salad bowls from donated country livings. Sun pulsed in my NG tube like prescribed photosynthesis. In the basement dining room, we scraped our plates, licked our yogurt lids, played another round of Family Feud. Name 10 things you keep in your wallet. 8 things people most often lose. I tracked shadows of bird decals a nurse put on our windows after they found piles of dead pigeons outside, their intricate circuitries corrupted by artificial lights. When they unlatched the gates at 7, herded us out onto the trail, we watched bats darken the sky in droves, threw pebbles to watch them dive, not out of cruelty, at least not entirely. I asked my dead grandfather for a sign through moths or fireflies. Instead, he sent weevil larvae spilling from acorns. I asked the bees burrowing in hollyhocks for a sign, despite forest fires, colony collapse disorder, pesticide dripping down hollowed hives. Asked cicada broods, winged tinderboxes of inexplicable desires, only puffs of husk by September. Asked them how they knew when to call it quits. Asked the crows clawing through our scraps, driven by nothing but hunger, their bird brains tuned to survival's thrum. I told the doctor I wanted to die, and he upped my venlafaxine. I told the chaplain I wanted to die. She gave me a copy of Wild Geese, said to let the soft animal of my body love what it loves, but never told me how. Thank you. Thank you all again for coming. Last one is called Future Living. Living in the future, you miss many things. Dead grandfather visiting your dream, other grandfather dying, solar eclipse, meteor shower, visa renewal deadline. Last flight home already half a day behind. Wonders pass you by. Pollen shivers down the silk skin of a cashew fruit. Song Hong ran out of silt while you weren't looking. Where you now live, houses no longer have brise soleil. Fire hazard, says your father, speeding past the dormant dam where you grew up, the ghost weight of you damp against his back. You missed when they took down the last sunbreak, put glass in its place to melt together the splinters of light whole and too hot to touch. You missed how you became your father. Everything in the future looks flammable. You always need a smoke. Half a century ago, a man planted his wife, a banyan tree in the rubbles of 12 days and 12 nights. Then the flood uproots the tree and wakes you the morning after. Did you miss the warning signs? How summer turns a watermelon, sour with sugar, your nails through the shell, fontanelle soft. Haven't you missed enough calls home? How rain never falls there but bores through tin roofs like bones. Thank you.
Thank you, Ngoc, for your beautiful poems and for taking us back to the days of the bats in the building. My name is Gerardo Aspiri, and I have the honor to introduce our last reader tonight, Hana Widerman. Hana Widerman is a poet and essayist originally from California. She graduated from Princeton University with a degree in English and creative writing and won the James Richardson Award in poetry. A two-time winner of Cornell's George Harmon Cox Poetry Prize and a Saltonstall Foundation Fellow, her poetry has been longlisted in a national poetry competition and appears or is forthcoming in the Three Penny Review, the Washington Square Review, the Journal, the Offing, the Shore, Zocalo Public Square, and elsewhere. She is currently an MFA student at Cornell University. Hana's poetry is among the most visual and sensory that I have ever encountered. Her carefully crafted images are able to transport her readers to the scene she describes, whether that is a dark room with a TV playing, an office full of papers, or a salt canyon. Her work explores themes such as grief, eros, and family mythologies, and braids them together in a fashion that only a true weaver of language can and dares to do. Hana, I feel extremely fortunate to have found your beautiful voice here at Cornell, and even more so to have the privilege of being your friend, sharing our work and favorite poems with each other, and having unforgettable game and movie nights. I cannot wait to see all your future achievements and to keep walking together in this journey of poetry. Now, please join me in welcoming the incredible Hana Widerman.
Okay, well, first I have to lower this down. I'm 5'2". I was informed that I was one of the shortest in the cohort, but I have big words. And thank you so much for that introduction. It was really lovely, and thank you so much to everyone for being here tonight. I'm gonna start us off with the first poem of my thesis manuscript, Athena Redux. 10 years before my father gave birth to me, I knew I would exist. The lines of life were clear to me. I would never be born with his eyes. My lifespan would outlast his, though he was also a god. When he was trying to make a world through words, his first thought was me, hair flailing down a mountain. Then came the broad sky, gleaming eyes of the horses rising up from the sea, the name of my new city burning in his pocket like a piece of snow. At the time, my thoughts were flights of fancy at the corner of his, butterflies with little weight. If I spoke from the lily inside a book, My voice would contain a different vibration. So was my voice in my father's head, weak as a blossom growing in a darkened place. Around me, life has now changed. He has gone through the largest pain of his life, his head aching for the axe. I turn my butterflies blue to soothe him. I let loose cold rain. I step out into the clearing. Let him see me fully grown, the sparrow released from his brain. This next one is called Collage of Wreckage. When the earthquake hit Japan, I remember it rained in California. I walked outside and imagined what it'd be like to be carried by light and water, like my mother leaving home. It was still early morning. My grandparents were not by the sea. In the mountains of Yamagata, rare fish flooded the shores for months. After school, we released rainbow trout into the lake. In Japan, buildings filled with water. I have never known where to place the gap of myself. I have never looked up the names, the Enka songs my mother sings, weaving bamboo into reeds, placing freeze-dried orchids, mimosa, ajisai, grape leaves into art. The wind blows away her careful angles, those same hands on the bedroom door, pushing it in before I sleep, her voice, the shocking abundance of blackberries pulsing under the sun like brains. I must go into the thicket, take the fleshy knowledge from her hands. She wants me to remember everything she has touched. Her first husband who lives by the beach in Sausalito, a pale yellow postcard for voter registration, the joy of seeing a blue jay shimmering through a redwood forest, the remains of broken dishes in a brown paper bag, a collage of wreckage to prove it can be done. Sound of my mother's voice in my bedroom, pain or dream, either way, too many times remembered. As I see the world inheritance floods our mouths each morning like possession. My grandmother, my mother, the hollow sound of watermelon when hit by a flat hand, house smaller with each new layer of paint in the hallways. I rock back and forth with the weight, house braced for movement, familiar shifts of a woman dressing to leave. And this next one is called Office Work. My father's CPA office was once in the same building as a yoga studio. Returning from his evening book, he looked up and waved to the men in their tank tops and joggers, perfectly on time for their meditation. Then he stood from his perch and returned to his practice. On his side of the building, my father fought clients for lying about their assets. Then an hour later, the IRS for attempting to ruin them. Yes, my father knew how to sustain two sides, like a building of recreation and offices. His engine as quiet as the water running through the veins of fatigued office plants, pressing their leaves to the window glass. The long pour of black coffee from the Keurig, the long leather couch where I did my schoolwork and flipped through his books as he sang to me, "Oh, these raindrops keep falling on my head, they keep falling." I watched my father in his office chair, gold-framed diplomas in the background, desk as grand as a ship cutting through the water. What god had enough air to keep these afloat? He held up the office, the house, the burnt hills, and had the worst insomnia. Slept in the office sometimes, especially in the spring, watching the magnolia blossoms and unable to smell their scent. I at least could vouch for the comfort of that couch, though something about my father sleeping in a dark office, files and coffee for company, shirt pockets stained with blue ink after he forgot to put on their caps. The ink would continue running all night, the book writing itself, before he needed to pick it up the next day as evening showed itself. My father, an insomniac still, wandering in his facility gown through hallways and into another person's room, an office he remembers, the long pour of black coffee, a feeling that he had kept it all closed. And this next poem is called The Dream of the Red Pickup Truck. I have a lot of poems with driving in them, but I actually can't drive, so poetic obsession maybe. My mother, a secret I see only through brief glimpses. My mother, who wanted to send President Biden chocolate after he canceled her student loans, who learns tax codes late into the night, who has married 2 men in her life, who stops on the sides of roads to pick flowers, who tried to take me hiking through my many heartbreaks. My mother, who can never stay still. A vacation is never a time for dreaming. It is a time to pull anything anyone ever could out of a space. I want to spend some time in my bed, desirous, all sinuous, just for an afternoon. I want this poem to make you feel something in your body. Give me all the moods and tenses of action. My mother got the big tires to go through snow and rain and unpaved roads. Red Chevy Avalanche pickup truck. I enjoy the feeling of that in my mouth. This is the car of dreams, taking up the road in sweet abundance. My mother, with her blow-dried hair, volumed fresh with a curved brush, just that morning, she's twisting through the streets, windows down, the Japanese Medusa, turning men to stone. This next one is called Confession. In my apartment, the living room windows open towards the street. Sometimes I like changing in front of them. I like seeing others on my own terms. It's like when my mother made the police officer wait outside while she changed into street clothes, though it initially seems like the opposite. If the blinds are down while I change, I'm not really alive, not really part of the moving world, the men on the road across the porch, walking their dogs or leaving for jogs in the morning. And then me, a larger presence than they, nude and watching, feeling my own eyes through the windows. And this next poem is called Red Math. I'm an MFA and I have no association with the math department, but I was once gifted a linear algebra textbook, so that's where this poem came from. Thanks, Amir. Now my version of red is always 2 parts, half me, half you, that fleshy incarnadine feeling. I assumed incorrectly that equations were cool stones set in predetermined order. For you, math was a messy art with its own gestures. I loved watching you devote yourself to one proof while I did the same with a single metaphor. We apprenticed together until morning touched our slouched shoulders, continued even when ants punctuated the table in summer. You were an accumulative force, white pages with penciled text stacking around your face. For many years, I had put that face under a silver lock. Now I have only a few pictures. In one, you're sprawled on a living room couch, smiling, lit by green lights, a gallon of water in your hand. In another, you are my cameraman. Your gaze thrashes my portrait. I sit in front of the fireplace where we committed many acts, acre after acre of my body over yours. No reins or bridle or warning, the guitar with the broken strings, horizontal snow. I am not trying to give you a riddle. I hope your world is as you wish. I am standing on my own two legs in this afternoon's redness. I feel the pressure of your mind outside the frame. And this last poem I'm reading tonight is called The Painting in the Living Room, and it's the second to last poem in my thesis manuscript at this moment. The wood of the frame has no shine, like my father's teeth stained from a lifetime of coffee. Inside the frame, two ships float over a turquoise sea, performed in vague strokes. My father's scribbles over a faded crossword, black birds in the distance. Sometimes he is like how I remember. I would have loved to watch my father's first steps as my grandfather worked the wood of the frame and found its proper thickness, curled strips of wood falling to the floor like fiddlehead ferns. I wish for his intuition whenever I search for my father, looking into every unlocked car in the parking lot for the flash of his blue shirt. Woodworker and musician, to hear the flute's music change as my grandfather carved its body, to know there is only one way my voice could have formed. The first night my father was born, he slept in a house made for him by his own father. And in the morning he cried among the fresh scent of wood and his father's hands. Thank you so much.
Thank you again for coming, and give it up one more time for all 6 of our incredible writers. Please join us upstairs for a reception in the English Lounge. All right.